Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Tonight we have this is not a top 10, and it's going to be a overriding video on synthetics. So this video is really going to be a way to kind of open up the conversation, to open up the floodgates and have a conversation about synthetics in perfume. And the reason this got brought up, a couple reasons. Number one of my best friends in the fragrance industry and most trusted noses in the fragrance industry. God, I can't talk today. In the fragrance game, in the reviewing game, Rich Mitch, he did a review on a Frederic Malle fragrance, and it's the new hyped uncut gem, which sells for like $430 USD plus tax, of course, for 100 ml, which is insanely expensive. And it started a quick conversation because Rich Mitch really bashed that fragrance. He really didn't like it. He says he stands by everything he said. I have not had the pleasure or the horror to smell it yet. But the idea behind it is that Maurice Roussel, who perfumed Uncut Gem, basically had a fragrance that he made for himself. And it was supposed to be a masculine type old school cologne modernized, okay? And it has a note of amber woods in the base. Amber woods is like a broad term that we use to describe this very synthetic. It can be many different ingredients, but usually it gives off this synthetic, very loud drone. You know, it feels like somebody turned the volume on the fragrance up to like a 12 out of 10. They cranked it all the way up to max volume, and it just goes on and on and on and on. That's the best way I can describe amber woods in the base. Sometimes, depending on the fragrance, I can narrow it down to which house used the captive molecule, and so you can know whether it's Givaudan, IFF, and I'm going to talk about some of those in this video because this is going to be about fragrances in my collection that use the synthetic molecules, which, to be honest, every single fragrance in our collection nowadays is synthetic. Nothing is natural unless they say it's 100% natural, which is very rare and very hard to do a perfume with naturals that's done well. The way that Roja Dove describes it is it's like having a cotton shirt. If you put 100% cotton, it's not very stretchable, malleable to your body. If you just add 1% nylon, it changes everything, right? And so that's the idea in the fragrance game too, but nowadays it's the other way around. There's very little naturals used, lots of synthetics, and so this fragrance is going to be highlighting some of the synthetics and opening up the conversation, because remember, synthetics does not equal bad at all. In fact, some of these fragrances we're going to talk about are some of my most favorite fragrances in my entire collection, okay? I absolutely adore some of these scents. They are top-notch scents for me, but you'll notice that there are some that I really don't like, and there are some that I absolutely love. There are some that are very cheap. There are some that are very expensive, extremely expensive scents. Some of the most expensive scents in my collection are in this video. And so you're going to see a collection of many different things. So that's going to open up the question of synthetics, how they play into a fragrance. Is it okay to be dosed in small doses, big doses, should it be balanced, that kind of thing. And so with Uncut Gem, I was actually able to nail down exactly what the captive molecule that was used in the base that so bothered Rich Mitch. And it turns out it's called ambrosinide. And ambrosinide is one of those captive ingredients, and it's owned by a company called Symrise. Symrise is one of the big, 4 or 5, oil houses. And it's an amber fragrance ingredient molecule, interestingly enough, because the base is amber and musk. So you'll see some ambers in this list. You will see some cashmeran, cashmere woods. Anytime you hear cashmere woods, usually you can substitute that for cashmeran. You're going to see stuff like akigala, and you're going to see some real strange captive ingredients. There's one that's called Z11 that's in one of the fragrances we're going to talk about. So it's just a way to open up the conversation. And, you know, this is a video that I think needs to be put out there. Many of these fragrances, if you've been following my channel, you have seen before, most likely. And the last thing I want to say is that these are my opinions, okay? So to the brand, if a brand's going to watch this and get all pissed off and offended, which they probably won't, or if you're going to watch this and get all pissed off and offended because I said something about one of your favorite fragrances, remember, this is my opinion and it's Parfumo's opinion. So many times I'm going off of what Parfumo actually lists, but sometimes I'm going off of my own nose. There's no, you know, these brands aren't going to want to publicize many times that they're using amber woods or, you know, whatever you want to call it. And so, you know, I'm going off of my nose, and sometimes it's nothing but a guess, and it's just my opinion, okay? So again, if I say there's amber woods in a fragrance, it doesn't make it bad or good either way, because again, some of these are some of my favorite fragrances of all time. So with that intro out of the way, let's do scent of the day, because it is one of my favorite fragrances of all time, and it's from the house of YSL, and this is YSL's Jazz, the original Jazz. I wore this to work today. As you can see, I'm wearing black, have my Johnny Cash outfit on, and this just went so beautifully today. You know, there was some times during the day where, and I brought this bottle with me to work, it's probably, I don't know, 80% full. This is a 50 mil. I have a 100 mil backup. I have another backup on the way from Rich Mitch. God, a fragrance that, you know, we've been waiting on this haul from Rich Mitch for like 7 months, if you've been following. And finally, I think it's going to make it here. It's going to leave England, hopefully, within the next week or so. So I'm very excited about that. But I have another backup on the way. That's how much I love this stuff. And my God, you know, it opens up much greener than I remember it for the first minute or two. First 5 minutes, let's say. Heavy tarragon and coriander and anise. And then what I so love about this fragrance is once it begins to dry, you know, that first half an hour to an hour, maybe even the first 2 hours is just heaven. Iris, tobacco, you know, it dries into this oak moss, leather. It's just fantastic. It's almost like an ambery fougere, spicy, woody ambery fougere. And I think this is so, you know, this is so me. This type of fragrance, and I could have named Escada pour Homme, I could have named Guerlain's Heritage, I could have named, you know, those kind of late 80s, early 90s type scents, right? I just love them, and this falls right into that category from 1988. YSL's Jazz, a real masculine gem. I love this stuff. This is my favorite from the trio, too. There's Jazz. It spun off two flankers, Live Jazz by Pierre Bourdon and Jazz Prestige, which Jazz Prestige is much closer to this. I like this the most, though. Then Jazz Prestige, then Live Jazz. Okay, so let's go through some samples first, as we usually do. So now that we mentioned Maurice Roussel and Uncut Gem and that giant amber wood / ambrosinide note that's in the base that really offends Rich Mitch and others who I've seen do videos on this. Even Sebastian, the perfume guy, who doesn't like to do videos talking bad about fragrances, did a video saying he didn't think it was worth it. You know, it seems like a redundant release and that kind of thing. So this is going to be like Frederic Malle's trying to be like, compete, I think, with the more modern Sauvage and stuff like that, which will be on the list. But there was another fragrance by Maurice Roussel, and it came out in 2008 that he did with Frederic Malle, and it's called Dante Bras. And Dante Bras is a floral, spicy fragrance with a big cashmeran note in the heart. And cashmeran, for those of you that are not familiar, is basically, you could describe it as this woody, spicy, musky, floral type note. And it does smell synthetic, and it does smell loud. So whenever you smell a fragrance that feels like maybe one note is a little out of sync, they've usually overdosed cashmeran or something of that accord, amber woods or something like that. So it's cashmeran here. Cashmeran was created by IFF, and I don't think it's new. I think it's been around for a while. I don't think it's one of the newer ingredients. I don't think it's on its, 7-year or 8-year patent or whatever the time period that they have is. But it here it's used with patchouli and sandalwood and frankincense, and I do like this fragrance. I will give it a wear, and I will talk about it soon. I'm trying to see how much I have in here. Enough to definitely wear and talk about. But so Frederic Malle's Dante Bra. And again, this is an expensive brand we're talking about. We're not talking about a cheap brand. And so just to recap, these synthetics, or whatever you want to call it, I guess I'm going to call it, this is not a top 10 synthetic, fragrance video episode. Doesn't mean it's bad at all, because what you're paying for partly is the skill of the perfumer to work some of these ingredients in. Now, where things get messy, I think, in my opinion, and the business side comes into this, is that the perfumers get paid an extra commission whenever they use a captive molecule by one of the houses. So let's say Symrise has a new captive molecule that is in that 7 or 8 year patent window, and it gets used. The perfumers get a portion of however many kilos of that ingredient is used. So the perfumers have a vested interest, as far as their pocketbook goes, to use some of these new ingredients that's being created. And so where you can kind of open up the floodgates and have this conversation is you can have it where you can say, they're replacing so many different ingredients. We'll talk about a couple of them as we go along, but you're going to see a lot of amber woods, you're going to see a lot of cashmeran, but you're also going to see like ingredients that replace amber, ingredients that replace patchouli. There was a rumor that they wanted to, obviously there's synthetic oak moss that's used, since oak moss is now heavily regulated, if not completely done away with. They're talking even about maybe trying to ban bergamot, or, it just seems like there's always another synthetic ingredient they want to create to sell more of their oils. And that's what they are. They're an oil house. These brands are oil houses. The brands like IFF and Symrise and Maine and Givaudan and Robertet and stuff like that. And so, that's where the conversation can come in, but it's a slippery slope, because you can't say this is good or bad, because many of the fragrances I love so much use these type of materials, as we'll get to. But then now it seems like it's almost becoming overkill. Like they're a little out of balance. And so that's why I thought this video would be important to do. Okay, next we're going to talk about a new brand to me. I did one video on this brand already, and I was not impressed at all. In fact, I hated it. I thought it smelled extremely cheap and very low quality ingredients to me, my nose. Astrophil and Stella is the brand. The one that I did the video on is called Petit Chéri. I can't believe I wore that as my scent of the day. It was bad. Way too sweet for me. This is created by Luca Meffi, and this is called Mellow Yellow. Okay, so Mellow Yellow came out in 2020, and it has cashmere woods in the base. So anytime you see cashmere woods, you can mostly think cashmeran, okay? It also has Orris Absolute, Carrot Seed, Orange Blossom Absolute, which sound like ingredients I would love. I love Orris or Iris, and a base of that but it has that synthetic base. And that's the thing, is when I smelled Petit Chéri, the base was so synthetic. And, this is, again, this is a video where I could have included so many, but this is just kind of a cross section, okay? So it's a cross section of some of the ones that I want to talk about that have these kind of notes. And then, same brand, this Astrophil and Stella. If you guys are familiar with this, let me know. I hope that first one was just a blip and these other ones are good, but I'm listening to other people talk, I'm losing some of that hope. This is called A Night at the Opera. And A Night at the Opera was created by Luca Maffei. Sorry, Mellow Yellow was created by Cecile Zarokian, not Luca Maffei. A Night at the Opera was created by Luca Maffei. And this is Artemisia, labdanum, leather, tobacco with a base, again, of cashmeran, gaiac wood, patchouli, cedar, musk, and amber. And I will wear these. I'm doing this for you guys. I don't know if I would wear this as my scent of the day otherwise, but I like wearing scent of the days. I like, when I do early impressions on fragrances, I like doing it as my scent of the day because it gives me, it really gives me a better feel than just wearing it at night. So I'll wear it at night maybe once or twice and then also make it my scent of the day. Okay, next is a Roja. And this is Eau the Exclusive Parfum from 2016. This is discontinued, unfortunately. But this is kind of like a precursor to the Moon, which is also on this list. And this is raspberry, elemi, cypriol, cashmere woods in the base, amyris, which, or amiris, I guess is how you're supposed to pronounce it. Amiris is a genus of plants that actually comes from the citrus family, believe it or not. And there's a something I read that said that the Amiris species actually exude elemi resins. So they have this mixture of the citruses and elemi, which has pieces, or it feels like a citrusy frankincense in and of itself. So then you mix that in with the citrus feel from the Amiris, and it makes a unique fragrance. And I've noticed Roja uses that Amiris over and over and over and over and over. That's one of his, I think, secret ingredient notes. The other is labdanum. He loves labdanum, and so do I. That's, if I had a brand, I would do a ton of labdanum, but this has a lot of saffron. It's like in the Middle Eastern style, you know what I mean? And I see why it got discontinued. I think the Moon is a much better fragrance, personally. Okay. Next, we're going to go to the house of imaginary authors, and this is called A City on Fire. So early impression of this one coming very soon. I haven't had a chance to talk about it on the channel yet, but this has cade, juniper, spikenard, cardamom, berries, labdanum, a burnt matchaccord, that's their imaginary note, and the synthetic in here is a fragrance called Clear Wood. And Clear Wood is a trademarked, which I'm guessing that means it's still in the time frame where Firmenich is getting, they have a claim. They're the only ones who can offer the ingredient and make money off it for now. They can't have just generics yet. I assume this is how this works. But Clear Wood is a Firmenich captive molecule. And it's said to have a soft and clean odor profile without the earthy and leathery aspects found in natural patchouli oil. So soft and clean. Very interesting. And so I think this is one I will like, though, honestly. This Imaginary Authors brand, they are reasonably priced, too. I think 50 mils is only $90 or something. So if I like that, I might go for a bottle. And then one we talked about yesterday from the same house is called Slow Explosions. So I'll do a video on this one soon. Fruity, spicy, apple, benzoin, cashmeran, leather, rose absolute, and saffron. And then we're going to go to the house of Nishane. This is another one on the list. So Jazz was one of the haul items coming from Rich Mitch. And this is another one where a full bottle should be coming very soon. Fingers crossed. This is called Sultan Vetiver, one of my favorite Vetiver fragrances. And this is a great example of how tastes differ, okay? Because someone like me and Rich, I know we're in agreement because we've talked about this, that the top and the mid of this is fantastic. We both like the top and the mid. Java Vetiver with Bourbon Vetiver, Haitian Vetiver, Neroli, Brazilian Vetiver, Tonka, leather, everything is great in the top and the mid. I think it's one of the best vetiver. This is like king vetiver. The problem comes in the base, because the base has a huge amount of that loud, almost when it's like when you smell it, when you smell amber woods that are heavily dosed, it's almost like you can smell them from a mile away. It has that feel to it. And this one has a big amber woods base, like nothing but amber woods in the base. And that bothers people like Rich. That's why he wanted to sell me the bottle. He didn't care for it. I can put up with it, luckily. I don't have that, like, you know, that visceral reaction to amber woods like some people do, luckily, because you would really have to, nowadays with it used in everything, I mean, you would just have to wear stuff like this. You wouldn't be able to wear anything modern for the most part. It would be very hard. You'd really have to work at not having fragrances with amber woods in them. And because I go back and forth between niche, you know, designer, vintage, cheap fragrances, expensive fragrances, because I go all over the place, whenever I finally do go back to modern and wear something like this, it doesn't bother me because it's a change of pace for my nose. You know what I mean? Like wearing something like this today, and then if I wore this tomorrow, it wouldn't bother me as much because it's something different, right? I never allow myself to wear the same fragrance back to back. It's one of my rules. I always wear it usually, not always, usually I will wear different fragrances every day. Because when you have a big collection, you want to wear as much as your collection as you can, you know? But I think if maybe I wore something like Sultan Vetiver every single day, that amber wood dry down might get to me. But, you know, since I mix it up, it doesn't. Luckily, I think that's one of the reasons it doesn't. Okay, and then just to give you an example of a Areej Doré fragrance I really like, even a brand like Areej Doré that uses some of the best ouds, the best musks, you know, the real ambergris. This is called Manly. And Manly has a cashmere note in the heart, according to Parfumo, okay? And by the way, they have a new set coming very soon that's going to be released. I will be talking about it hopefully very soon. I am kind of just waiting for the correct day to dive into it more, but it's here. And you'll hear about Areej Doré's new collection very soon. I'll be able to talk about it. Can't wait for that. Hopefully within the next couple days, I'll be able to talk about it. So this is Manly. And Manly has this aldehydic patchouli opening with the tobacco and the cashmere in the mid. So again, it's like going back to that shirt analogy where 99% cotton and that 1% nylon makes all the difference. Okay. Next, we're going to go to a recent review of mine, and this is a 2019 release from Marc-Antoine Barrois, and this is called Ganymede. Now, Ganymede is a very modern fragrance. If you're someone who wants to be, you know, up to date, if you have to have, like, you know, the newest computer, the newest car, the newest clothes, you're that kind of person, Ganymede is 100% your fragrance to me. It just feels so modern, so, it just feels so sterilized, kind of like our society, you know what I mean? It feels very sterilized, and yet there's something strangely attractive to this fragrance since it's so sterilized. I did a full review on it. You can go watch it. Ganymede has a Akigala wood note in the base. And Akigala wood is a note that, so basically it's a Givaudan ingredient, okay? This is what I've learned. It's a Givaudan ingredient, and it's a perfume note which was fractionated from patchouli oil, and its odor is described as woody, spicy, and floral, okay? Woody, spicy, and floral. And, this really feels very synthetic to me. You know, some of these synthetics don't feel super synthetic because of the way that they're blending. Ganymede is like synthetic overdose. It's like, you know, you're in a Blade Runner movie or something. It's very synthetic. And then, one that I'm just kind of using my nose on, there's no amberwood listing or anything like that, I'm just guessing, is Ombre Nomade from the house of Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton is another fragrance house that feels like many of their fragrances are extremely synthetic, but that seems to be like the popular vibe. And so I think amber woods is used very often to create this oud accord. I don't think Louis Vuitton is using real oud in this fragrance. I think they're pure oud, P-U-R, oud. That's like over $1,000 or something, is real oud. I don't think this one is, but I could be wrong. But it's oud, benzoin, frankincense, and raspberry are the notes. And I think there's a big amberwood note in the base of this to kind of, because it just goes on and on and on as well. But again, that's just my guess. Okay, next we're going to go to a fragrance that's shockingly, this was sent to me by DL Qualia. Shockingly, I did not hate this, okay? But I will talk about it more on the channel. It's Roja's Apex. And so I don't love it, but I don't hate it like I was expecting it to. Especially listening to people talk about this, I was like, man, this is going to suck. And I did have a chance to spray it on. And I did not hate it. I'll give it a full wear. I think I have enough to do a full wear. Do I have enough to do? Yeah, I have enough to do a full wear. So I'll do a full wear of this one day and talk about it on the channel. But it has a cashmere wood note, a cashmere note in the base with rum, tobacco, frankincense, ambergris, leather, galbanum, oak moss, elemi, patchouli, cistus. There's a pineapple note, which is kind of strange and out of place. But you know what? There's a pineapple note in Lapidus Pour Homme from the 80s, and that works out well. So I don't hate this. There's even a cypress note in here, which I think is an underused note. Would I buy a bottle? Hell no. But I'm glad to be able to at least try it and talk about it and give you my thoughts on the channel. They now have Apex Parfum, believe it or not. Apex just came out like 7 months ago. They already have Apex Parfum, which is $500 for 50 ml. But I mean, I like it. I did enjoy it. I did only do one spray and I wore it to bed, but I didn't hate it as much as I thought I did. Now, one of the perfumers who moved to Dubai and kind of studied this Middle Eastern style amber woods perfume is a man named Julian Rasquinet, and I really like his work. He's probably one of my favorite perfumers who can use amber woods in a way that I enjoy them to be used. And he created a fragrance for the house of St. Dupont, and it's called Perfect Tobacco, which is interesting because it probably should have been called Perfect Oud in my opinion, because it has this oudy, amber woody, vanilla dry down to my nose. There's no amber wood note listed in Parfumo, but it's cinnamon and ginger with rose and tobacco with vanilla and oud. Okay, so if you like those big, heavy winter fragrances like Tobacco Vanille, Spice Bomb Extreme, that kind of thing, right? If you liked your own Parfum, I would recommend giving this a sniff. It is very loud, extremely loud, okay? So careful with how much you spray. But I will, I'll do a full review on this before this decant is gone. Probably full bottle worthy, but I don't think I'll buy a bottle just because I'm beginning to really cut back on my bottle buying. You know, I've got all those fragrances coming from England. It's like an 8-bottle haul, 7 to 8 bottles. I can't remember that you know, the story with Rich Mitch and I trying to get these bottles from England to me has been an absolute nightmare, a mess. 7 months of back and forth. You know, the Royal Mail caught it and gave it back to him, and then we tried to use DHL, and we thought for sure it was going to get through, and then they caught it. And so, yes, having someone that we trust act as a mule is very exciting. Cannot wait to have those. Since I have those coming, and all of the amazing samples you folks have sent me, I don't know if I'm going to be buying much unless something just really jumps out to me. Okay, next we're going to go to the house of Histoires de Parfum, and this is called Rare Fidelis. Same perfumer, okay, Julian Rasquinet again. This is 2015. This is cumin, coffee, saffron with rose, absolute, and raspberry with patchouli, amber, and Laotian oud. I think that there's this amber woods in here too. But again, that's his style because he moved to Dubai and, you know, really, I think, perfected that style. Okay, So a couple more, and these there are reviews on the channel, so you can find them. You can either go to the Spirit of Dubai playlist or just search by Spirit of Dubai and it'll pull up. The first one is called Oud. So it's just Spirit of Dubai Oud from 2015. And I'm going to wear this again because I really enjoyed this. There's a lot going on, but it's basically this Frederic Malle, the night-like oud note. And what's interesting about this, though, is, you know, speaking with Russian Adam, he was explaining kind of some of the under-the-table workings that some of these brands, you know, that some of these brands go through. And I'm not saying Dubai, Spirit of Dubai or Nabeel does this, but he was saying that there are brands that will buy oud from companies like Ajmal, and Ajmal sells their oud for, you know, $100 or less on discounters, right? And this is 1,000, 1,200, so, you know, it's the price on perfume is just insane nowadays. But this is a very good oud fragrance in my opinion, and if I had to buy one from the line, it would probably be this or Majalis. But there is a amberwood note in this, in my opinion. I don't know if it's listed or not. It might be. There's so many notes, I can't go through them fast enough. Yeah, there's an amberwood note in the heart. And it was really good. I did enjoy that. And then also in their leather fragrance, which I was not as impressed with as I thought I would be. This is Spirit of Dubai Majalis. I'm sorry, Maidan is the leather. Majalis is the one I really liked. Maidan is the leather, and it has a couple, it actually has a couple big synthetic notes. Number one is hedione, which hedione I think was, it's methyl dihydrojasminate, okay? And it's a fragrance ingredient similar to the scent of jasmine that Firmenich discovered like 75 years ago or something crazy like that. And I think it was used in Eau Sauvage in 1966. And there's also a cashmeran note in here as well. And the claim to fame that hedione has, I think it's hedione. I could be wrong, but I believe it's hedione, is that they did a scientific study. And apparently, they can officially say that hedione is attractive to women. Like, you know, it attracts women is what the study ended up like. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into the study and see how scientific it was. But yes, that was one of the claims to fame of one of the notes that that was used in Eau Sauvage from 1966. Okay, next we're going to go to the house of Jean Varvatos, and this is Dark Rebel. So I really like this stuff. It's leathery, it's spicy, it's a Rodrigo Flores Roux creation, who is a Givaudan perfumer. And so, of course, he's going to use a Givaudan ingredient in here, which is Akigala wood. So there's an Akigala wood note in here, which again, woody, spicy, floral in the base, with castoreum, vanilla, tobacco. There's all kind of crazy notes in here. Snapdragon, black leather, styrax, nutmeg, Jamaican rum. I really like it. I think this and Dark Rebel Rider are good examples of modern designer perfume. Okay, next we're going to go to Roja again, and this is another one I've already done a review on. This is called Harrods Pour Homme. So Harrods Pour Homme has this cashmere wood, and it has Ambre Rome Absolute. And Ambre Rome, I think, is supposed to be very similar to Cistus, which I know he loves labdanum. There's also labdanum in here, but Ambre Rome must do something a little bit different. So that is Harrods Pour Homme. Very clean cut. Like my fade, fresh fade, that's Harrods Pour Homme. I mean, it's kind of boring, but it does smell posh. Okay, now one that I'm really going off my nose. This is a pure guess, but I'm about 99.9% that I'm right. that there is a gigantic amber woods note. And I really do not like this fragrance at all. This is Initio's Oud for Greatness. And I'm so glad I only have 15 ml of this and not a full bottle. Oh, it's so bad. It just smells so cheap. It smells like a child just took a couple synthetics and dumped them together and went, here you go, $350. It smells like cheap saffron with oud, with amberwood to my nose, but that's just my opinion. Okay, next we're going to go to probably the freshest Sense of Wood fragrance I've sniffed so far. This is called Hinoki in Hinoki, which this is very kindly sent to me by Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. I will do a video on these very soon. This is thyme, cypress, frankincense, cedar, moss, and cashmeran. And there's a couple of these Sense of Wood that use this synthetic cashmeran base. Okay, now we're going to go to the house of Issey Miyake. This is L'Eau Majeure de Issey. So I'll do an early impression on this, but I'm not looking forward to it. It's bergamot, grapefruit, ambergris, and cashmeran. Probably amber, probably ambroxan, not real ambergris, but there are many people I trust who absolutely bash this scent, and so I'm not looking forward to it, but we'll see how that goes. And then, one that I really am, in fact, I should buy a bottle of this while I can still get it in the older, presentation, especially if I can get it for cheaper than what the new stuff is. But this is from the Library Collection and from Amouage, and I love these little decants. Look at this presentation. Beautiful. So this is Opus 6. Now, Opus 6 is Spicy Oriental. I don't know who the perfumer is, but man, what a scent this is. This is so good. Oh, bay leaves, pepper, frankincense, silk vine, nagamatha, patchouli, and then there's two. There is two synthetic ingredients listed in the base. One is ambranum, and ambranum is a Firmenich amber fragrant material. And the other ingredient, which is very interesting, is called Z11, which is another Firmenich woody. It's like a synthetic woody fragrance material. Hardly used. I mean, in any, very few perfumes use this Z11, according to Parfumo anyways. It's like this in one expensive, from YSL's very expensive line from 2017 called 24 Rue de la Université. But I mean, that makes it unique. That means very few people are walking around smelling like you if you have this. So Opus 6, very underrated, I think. Full bottle worthy. Will I get one? It all depends if I can find one at a very good price. That's kind of where I'm at in my bottle buying journey, I think. Since I have so much, I'm just kind of like, unless I really get a deal, like a real deal, I'm just kind of sitting on my hands, you know? See if those real deals pop up. Okay, now we're going to go to two of probably the most popular fragrances in the last 10 to 20 years, designer-wise. And this is 1 Million. This is everything I hate in perfume. And this has, in 2008, it's created by Christophe Renaud, Olivier Pechot, and Michel Girard. That red mandarin orange, that synthetic red mandarin orange that pops up in the opening with peppermint, rose, absolute, cinnamon, leather, and the synthetic note in the base, again, according to Parfumo, is a Givaudan material, and it's called Amber Ketal. And Amber Ketal is an amber fragrant material. It's basically Givaudan's synthetic amber base that 1 Million has that just makes it seem to go on forever. A disgusting, sweet thing that I hate so much. And then the other one that is competing with 1 Million for ones that I hate so much is Versace Eros, the original EDT from 2012. And you can see I just have little samples because I don't have bottles of this, because why? Why would I have a bottle of this? Sweet, fresh, designer, boring, mint apple, ambroxan. So ambroxan, by the way, is one we haven't talked about, but it's one of the main compounds of real ambergris, ambroxan. Now, of course, it's produced synthetically, and it's overdosed in many of these fragrances, which we'll get to another big overdose, ambroxan, but that could be considered synthetic as well, although, you know, it all depends on how you look at it. But technically, yes, ambroxan is a synthetic since it's now produced in a lab, but that's what I mean. So much of what we smell in these fragrances are synthetic. They're not natural. I'm not that naive. I understand that that's just the way it is nowadays. And some of that, you could make a very fair argument that some of it is due to the fact of how we treated some of these ingredients over the time. You know, like Mysore sandalwood is a great example of that. You know, we just basically mined Mysore sandalwood to the brink of extinction. And if it wasn't for the Indian government stepping in, it would be gone. Which, you know what? There's other sandalwoods to use or whatever. But I understand both sides. And Mysore sandalwood now has this mythical, you know, this mythical status, but that's what was available back then. That's what the houses used because that's what was available. And the Indian government just basically spread them and said, go ahead, have at it. Take all the Mysore sandalwood you want. And these big brands did. I mean, and so there's the sustainability side of things too. You know, and some people don't like ambergris because they don't understand how it's collected. They think somehow it hurts the whale. That's just ignorance, though. But, I mean, and the other part of it is that sometimes ambergris, when you use, like, let's say you use real ambergris or real musk, right? The smell from one bottle to the next is going to differ, right? Well, maybe not one bottle to the next, but one brick of ambergris to the next. Now, granted, in the old days, a big hunk of ambergris could last a house like Chanel a decade. But, you know, once it's gone and you have to get another one, the fragrance is going to smell different. Whereas with these synthetic molecules, they can keep it exactly the same. But then I think it's mostly greed that's driving it. I don't think it's as much care for the smell of the fragrance as it is the greed from these houses, because the profit margins go through the roof, in my opinion. And I am wearing I look like a priest right now, I think. I feel like I'm in a position of authority here. You can call me father. Okay, next is Roja's Burlington 1819, another one that I've got an early impression on coming very soon. I just have to find time. Citrusy and fresh with cashmere wood, rum, tobacco. It's a good citrusy, fresh fragrance because it has a little base. I like fragrances that have a little base. You know, this has rum, tobacco, vanilla, labdanum, ambergris. It's not just grapefruit. It's not just lime. It's not just orange. You know, there's a little heft underneath. And then another Roja video that should be coming up very soon is called Roja's Areej Parfum. You can see how dark that juice is. Lots of food coloring in here, probably. Roja's Areej Parfum. Woody, oriental, with cashmeran woods in the base, with oud and lots of rose. There's a lot of rose in here, but I'll do a full review one day soon on Roja's Areej. Okay, so let's go to some full bottles. I think you'll find some of this interesting. I wanted to start here. And the reason I wanted to start with this one is because on the back, this is a 1997 release. Now, this bottle, I think, is from maybe like 10 years ago. I don't think it's super old or anything. But it's called Moschino Uomo with the question mark in the O. So I guess it's like Uomo? But what's interesting is if you flip it over on the back, and you take a look right here in the base, you'll notice it says new amber wood. Even back then, even in the 90s, they were beginning to use this stuff. And so new amber wood is what's listed, which back then it probably was new, with cedar, artemisia, sunlight accord, and musk, and whatever that solar note is. This is a very fresh wood, and then there's hedione in the top. So there's that hedione, you know, freshness with kumquat. Very strange fragrance. But if you're the kind of person that likes fresh, unassuming, easy to wear, you know, that kind of 90s style, I think you'd really like Uomo. It's not bad. It's not bad for a summer fragrance for me. Okay, next we're going to go to the house of Carolina Herrera. And again, this is based off of my noggin and people that I trust. So this is a guess, okay? I don't know if there's amber woods in here. I'm guessing because of the dry down. Is CH Men. And I really like this. Anuj found me this vintage bottle with the little... Just play with this all day. Sweet, leathery. This is one of those, you know... This is one of those guilty pleasures because it is sweet. I know I don't normally like sweet fragrances, but it's leather. I love leather. So, you know, it's this leathery suede thing with, I think there's amber woods in the base to keep it going. It smells like there are, but again, that's just to my nose. And then there is its older brother and more popular brother, CH Men Privé from 2015. And CH Men Privé is whiskey, leather, benzoin, tonka, lavender, sage, red thyme, cardamom, grapefruit, and what smells like amber woods in the base. Again, just to my opinion. Now, this is an interesting one. This one might shock you a little bit. This is one of Rich Mitch and mine's most favorite summer fragrance, okay? I love wearing this stuff in the heat. It's discontinued, unfortunately, but I'm very glad to have this bottle. It's called Cartier's Roadster. And Roadster has a cashmeran wood note, which is very interesting that it just goes to show it's all how it's used and how it's dosed. Because sometimes that amber wood, cashmere wood, maybe there's a difference between the amber woods, the cashmere woods, of course there obviously is, Akigala wood, you know, Z11, all this different stuff these oil houses are doing. But I've never, this is one I never would have guessed if I didn't do research. This is one where Parfumo shows cashmere wood as a note with mint, vetiver, patchouli, bergamot, labdanum, and vanilla. And so, there you go. It's not all, like I said, it's not all, none of this is bashing. This is just having an open conversation about synthetics. Okay, now this is an interesting one. This is Parfums de Marly Herod. This is a decade old now. I can't believe it's already 10 years old. And I love and hate this fragrance. I love wearing it in the cold weather because it has that cinnamony tobacco, you know, warmy thing everyone likes wearing in the cold. But it's so sweet, it bothers me. But it has cypriol and vanilla, lots of vanilla, cedar, vetiver, patchouli. But there's a note in the top that's very interesting, and I did some research on it. The note is called pepperwood, and pepperwood is a fragrance ingredient by Givaudan, and it's said to have a woody, peppery odor profile. Go figure. But when you spray Herod, Olivier Pechot made this, by the way, and you get that peppery cinnamony thing. It's that synthetic pepperwood note that Givaudan created. So I thought that was interesting. And then if we go to Versace, another fragrance I absolutely love that I wish was still a cheapie. If this was $30 like it was 5-6 years ago, I would tell everyone to go out and buy this right now. Don't even think about it. Just go blind buy it. $30, all in. $100, maybe it's not so worth it, you know, but $30, this is a steal, a great cheapie. It's Versace Man. And Versace Man, spicy, oriental, with bergamot, angelica, black pepper, cardamom, saffron, amber, cashmere wood, labdanum, and tobacco. And then they basically took a very similar fragrance profile with Versace Man, Oud Noir. And I think this has both amber woods and cashmere and cashmeran. Leather wood in the base as well. Okay, the next one is, again, according to the nose knows. It's not listed as a note, but it's Davidoff's Leather Blend. And interestingly enough, Rich Mitch is selling this fragrance off because he thought the amber woods and the dry down were too much for him. Which, it goes to show, you know, these type of things can make a big deal. I personally love this fragrance. I think the mixture of the saffron, amber, leather, and that, you know, somewhat smoky, papery papyrus feel is amazing. But I can totally see what he means when he says it turns to amber woods in the base. And so there you go. That's one where, even though it's not listed, if you bought it, and you know, it can affect you. So that's just based on the old noggin. Don't sue me, Davidoff. Okay, next we're gonna go to the house of Versace, and this is called Havas. Now, Havas is a take on Invictus, obviously. It's an Invictus clone, for those of you who know. There's a big amberwood note in the dry down. And what's interesting is many times we talk about these ambery woods with, you know, leather and oud and stuff like this. But this just goes to show this Moschino Uomo and Havas are two perfect examples of fresher fragrances that use amber woods in the base, interestingly enough. So that is Havas. And then we are going to go to the house of Trussardi, one of my favorite Nathalie Larson creations, underrated to high heaven. This just goes to show, does not mean bad. Amber woods, cashmeran, akigala, these kind of synthetics do not mean bad. This is Inside for Man. I love this stuff so much. There's a cashmere wood in the base, but this is so underrated. I mean, one of my favorite coffees because it's just this completely dry Italian, devoid of sweetness coffee with a cigarette. It's just amazing. Love it. Okay, next is probably pound for pound one of the cheapest fragrances you can buy on this list, because you can get this 200 and is it 250? How big are you? 200 mils for like $19 on discounters. Ck1 Shock. Okay, Ck1 Shock is sweet, spicy, clementine, cucumber, lavender, cardamom, black basil, black pepper, ambrine, which ambrine is the main ingredient of ambergris. It's odorless, and only by oxidation the fragrance ingredients ambrox and ambrinol occur, interestingly enough. So ambrine, cashmeran, patchouli, tobacco, and white musk. And if you are like a college student, if you're on a budget and you just want a colder, like you want one fragrance for the cold, one for the warm, and you want to find a cheapie, pound for pound, 200 mil for under 20 bucks at the discounters. Okay, now this is a fragrance I hunted for forever, and I absolutely love it, but it has a huge amberwood note. Julie Massey created this, and I think she worked for Maine. Maine is one of the, you know, they're not as big as Givaudan, IFF. They're one of the smaller houses, but still decent size, and this is called Noble Leather. So Noble Leather is leather with dried fruits, vanilla, saffron, and amber woods. And I absolutely love this stuff. Oh, it's so good. I think it's discontinued, even though it says it's still being produced. I don't think it is, personally. But I could be wrong. But I don't think it is. It took me forever forever to find this. And you notice they don't put amber woods on the side, do they? No, they just happen to leave that out. Leather, saffron, dried fruits, vanilla, and patchouli. Oh, you left out amber woods. How interesting. Okay, next we're going to go to the house of Loewe, and this is Solo. Now, Solo is a fragrance that I think is targeted towards the Spanish market because there's a big guava note in here. And guava is usually, you know, a fruit that is enjoyed in South America and Spain, stuff like that. And there's a cashmere note, not cashmeran, not cashmere woods, excuse me, but cashmere. And so it's supposed to have like this literal texture of cashmere in here. Interesting, crazy fragrance, you know. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think I like it. Even I've had it for years and worn it to bed. I don't think I like this fragrance. It's not for me, but I will continue to wear it. I will see if it turns from a hate to a like. Okay, next we're going to go to one of my favorite Vetivers of all time. This just goes to show, again, one of my favorite Vetivers of all time. And this is Ankara Noir. The amazing Ankara Noir. Oh, it's just so perfect. I mean, vetiver acetate, cypress, bourbon vetiver, Haitian vetiver, cashmere woods, and musk. And so if you like the way that Nathalie Lorson uses the cashmere woods in the base of Ankara Noir, and you get a chance to buy Inside Man for a great price, do it. You know, because the way she was, this is 2006. This is 2006, same year. Okay, so she was on a little bit of a roll with the Cashmeran, and damn, she hit 2 out of the park. Everyone talks about this because it's still in production. Inside Man is discontinued, but damn, it's good. So it just goes to show, you know, if a perfumer knows how to use these synthetic molecules well, you could get something absolutely amazing. Synthetic does not mean bad. Again, I'm going to say it again. I'll probably say it again before the video's over. Okay, next, we're going to go to the house of Salvatore Ferragamo. Now, this one I struggle with, Uomo. It's so damn sweet. Black pepper, cardamom, bergamot, orange blossom, ambrox, okay? Ambroxan, like I said, synthetically produced nowadays, and a tiramisu note, a goddamn tiramisu note in a men's perfume. Just, it's just wrong. Sandalwood, tonka, and cashmere wood, so cashmeran in the base. And, you know, one day I'm going to torture myself and force myself to wear all these fragrances I hate, but I am not a fan of that. Okay, next we're going to go to the house of Amr Oud, and this is called Oud Tabak. Now, not many people talk about this house. I am not a fan, to be honest with you, of very much I've smelled from them. This one, though, has this tobacco vanille-like vibe with oud and frankincense. And so if you've ever thought, damn, tobacco vanille needs some oud and frankincense, here you go. You can get $100, 100 mil for $100. Is it the highest quality ingredient? No, I think there's a lot of amber woods in the base, and a lot. You know, I think this is one that would probably bother someone where amber woods is, you know, questionable how they feel about it, but yeah. Okay, next we're going to go to one of the ingredients that made synthetics famous. Sauvage Parfum by Dior. This is one of the big dogs. This is one of the, I mean, if you wanted to say, Ramsey, pick out 2 of the most synthetic, fragrances on this list, it would be Ganymede and it would be Sauvage. Now, this is the Parfum. So the Parfum's a little bit more, what would you say? The Parfum is a little bit more high class. You know, the EDT has that crazy throw, like you're trying to get every single girl in the club at once. You know, like you want all of them to smell you all at the same time. Problem is, everyone else is is thinking the exact same thing, and so it doesn't work. But the EDT just has this monstrous throw, and the Parfum tones it down a little bit, adds a nice LME, musk, sandalwood, cedar, patchouli, tonka. It's a good fragrance. I mean, I just don't like smelling like everyone else. Okay, next we are going to go to a Roja, believe it or not. And as you can see, he uses a lot of cashmeran. This is Scandal. And I was noticing this the other day. Does this look crooked to you? Or am I losing my mind? Look, here, we'll put it straight. Okay, here, it's straight. Look. Does this look crooked? I think they put this on crooked. How can you put on a thing for a $500 fragrance crooked? Anyways, it's a damn good fragrance, though. A really good fougere. Really good. Modern. Very modern. So posh. You know, if the 80s fougères are too strong for you, you know, if you don't like the sharp bracingness, which I do love, this is so smooth. This is like 12 speed, you know. It just switches gears. You don't feel a damn thing. It's like riding on a cloud. But there's a big cashmeran note in the base. And it does have that old school masculine fougere vibe, which I like, but very modernized. He did a good job with that one. Unfortunately, the EDT is my favorite, and that's discontinued. Okay, next we're going to talk about Boundless by the House of Amouage. And anytime a perfumer says, when I created Boundless, I wanted to play with the idea of golden wood and a gateway to a dense jungle where wood essences of all kind can be preserved. Amber woods. This is a huge amount of amber woods. Tobacco, frankincense, myrrh, LME. The stuff I really wanted gets overshadowed by the amber woods here, I think. Big amber wood mid to kind of tie everything together. It seems like, but yeah, I think that's one of the weakest Karine Vincent Spanner fragrances I've smelled. And then, just to give you an example, one that I'm not the biggest fan of. I mean, I like Boundless. I just don't love it. You know what I mean? And to one that is also very synthetic. Again, if you wanted to call, I would say this is probably a little beneath Sauvage, but still relatively synthetic. It's called Potion. But I love this stuff because it has this Angelica in the top. Oh, I love Angelica. And it's created by Anique Minardo, and she does not make mistakes, man. She is spot on with everything she does. Peppery, rose, cinnamon, amber, cashmere wood, musk, and patchouli. And her and Nathalie Lorson just use these synthetics to perfection. I wish they'd come back and do more. I think Nathalie Lorson's still doing stuff, but I don't think Anique Minardo is really doing anything anymore. All right, next is the House of Moschino. This is Toy Boy. There is a lot of synthetics in here. Interesting ones, too. So let's talk about them. So this is clove, pink pepper, nutmeg, LME, rose, flax blossom, cashmeran in the heart. And then the base has Haitian vetiver and an ingredient called Amber Max. What is Amber Max, you say? Well, Amber Max is a Givaudan ingredient. That is a amber fragrance ingredient with facets of cedar wood. How interesting is that, huh? So it's like a built-in base. Here, you want your amber with cedar wood? Just use my Amber Max. All you have to do is pay us $10 million. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how much it is. But I'm sure if it's trademarked for... if it's got the registered trademark listed that Givaudan's making damn good money off of it. And then, interestingly enough, that Amber Max is also what's used in this Versace Eros. And it is also used in things like, do I know anything else that it's used in? I can't think of anything else. These are the two big ones, it looks like. Toy Boy and Eros. Pelargonium by Aedes de Venustus also uses it, but I've never smelled anything from that brand, although a lot of people talk about how great they are and that I should. And then also, there's a note in Toy Boy called Psycholide, Sylkolide. And Psycholide is also a Givaudan base of some sort. I couldn't figure out what it is, but it apparently is used in some other fragrances. Yoji Yamamoto used it in I Am Not Going to Disturb You for Femme, crazy name. But not, Ever Bloom by Shiseido used it. So yeah, I mean, apparently Givaudan definitely got their money on this one. And then a very interesting one, because this is one of my favorite fougères, modern fougères. It's called Linsaumis by Lalique. This is such a good value for money. Fantastic value for money. It's basil, bergamot, rum, clary sage, lavender, black pepper, patchouli, Haitian vetiver, moss, and clear wood. What is clear wood, you say? Well, clear wood is a Firmenich fragrant ingredient that is said to have a soft and clean odor profile without the earthy and leathery aspects found in natural patchouli oil. Does that sound familiar? Because I think I read it earlier in a City on Fire. Same thing. So these two both use this clear wood Firmenich ingredient. Interesting, huh? At least I think it's interesting. Maybe I'm just a big fragrance nerd, but... And finally, the one that made me go, God damn it, I have to do this video, because I think this is so damn good. And, it definitely has an amber woods base, no doubt about it. But I love the way Julien Rasquinet uses the amber woods, man. This is the Moon. Oh, baby, the Moon is heaven for me. It is, fruity, woody. There's this combo of raspberry and lychee, and I've never seen such a beautiful combo of lychee used in a fragrance, except for the way Bertrand Duchefort used it with L'Artisan Parfumeur. He used lychee in Zonka, I believe, just to perfection. And there's a red currant. There's this red berry-like note in here. Frankincense, Turkish rose, oud, and leather. And there's definitely a huge amber wood. But I love it. That's the thing. Oh, I love that style. I love the way Julien Rasquinet uses amber woods. And so, again, goes to prove they can be good, they can be bad. Some people love them, some people hate it. But I think it's an important conversation to have. So I wanted to do this video. We're over an hour. I know there are many other fragrances I could have listed. You're probably looking at some right now. But I didn't want this video to be 5 hours. An hour's enough. But anyways, let me know what some of your favorite synthetic fragrances are, or from the list, some of your favorites from my list, or some I haven't talked about, or if you have some that you have not heard me talk about on the channel, tell me about them. I'm always wanting to learn about new fragrances. So I appreciate everyone watching, commenting, liking, subscribing. It is very much appreciated. Thank you very much. I cannot believe we're working our way to 2,000 subs. It's shocking to me. Yes, I really love doing this. I hope you guys got something out of this. I think this was a fun video, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye, guys.